The story begins with a beautiful young girl waking up. Her name is Xiaoxia. Like many high school students, Xiaoxia often oversleeps. This habit is partly due to her loving mother, who is always hesitant to wake her up too early, fearing she might disturb her daughter's sweet dreams. As a result, Xiaoxia often finds herself rushing to get ready. In her haste, she hurried to the bathroom to brush her teeth, only to forget to take a shower. Before leaving for school, her mother never fails to prepare a lunchbox for her beloved daughter. As always, Xiaoxia is picked up by her childhood friend, Zhongyu. Over the years, Zhongyu has become like family to Xiaoxia, almost as if he were her mother's own son. This bond stems from the fact that Zhongyu's parents passed away when he was young. Not wanting to feel like a burden, Zhongyu does his best to repay the kindness of Xiaoxia's family. He expresses his gratitude by accompanying her to school every day, often treating her to her favorite snacks and drinks. One day, a new student named Cheng Yi arrives. A transfer from a prestigious school in China, Cheng Yi is somewhat of a mystery. No one knows why he left his previous school. However, his reputation precedes him. He was a 3-time champion in the National Mathematics Olympiad, a 2-time national archery champion, and, as many would say, upon seeing Cheng Yi in person, Xiaoxia finds her heart skipping a beat. Determined to win over this cool and aloof new student, she tries various ways to capture his attention, one of which is cooking at home and offering to exchange lunchboxes with him at school. But as the new student with both talent and charm, Cheng Yi naturally becomes the center of attention among the female students. This realization makes Xiaoxia feel somewhat insecure. Meanwhile, Zhongyu, who has been by Xiaoxia's side since childhood, has long harbored feelings for her. To him, she is the most beautiful girl in the world, except for Tsinghui. While his heart belongs to Xiaoxia, the presence of Tsinghui sometimes makes things more complicated. In Xiaoxia's eyes, Zhongyu and Tsinghui seem like the perfect match. Tsinghui is the most popular girl in school, and her close relationship with Zhongyu only strengthens that status. The two of them are in the same band, spending much of their time together. However, this does not bother Xiaoxia for now. Her focus is solely on winning the heart of her dream prince, Cheng Yi. Beyond his academic and athletic achievements, Cheng Yi also comes from a wealthy family. His mother, a CEO in America, is rarely home, leaving him in the care of his grandparents. However, his grandmother suffers from dementia, and over time, Cheng Yi has taken on the responsibility of looking after her. Despite his lonely upbringing, Cheng Yi has never been truly alone. Since childhood, he has had the company of a sweet dog named Bai Tsei. Although Bai Tsei is not in the best of health, to Cheng Yi, the dog has always been his most loyal companion. Determined to win Cheng Yi's heart, Xiaoxia was willing to follow him wherever he went. One day, she found him gazing at a photograph of a young girl, likely a childhood friend he had been forced to part with due to circumstances. Out of nowhere, Xiaoxia startled Cheng Yi by asking the name of his dog. When she learned that its name was Bai Tsei, she was puzzled as the dog was black. She suddenly recalled that she had once named a black dog Bai Tsei as well. This triggered a memory in Cheng Yi's mind, reminding him of his childhood friend. However, before they could dwell further, a sudden noise startled them, causing Bai Tsei to flee in fear. Without hesitation, Xiaoxia and Cheng Yi chased after the dog. In the process, Xiaoxia got into an accident while trying to save Bai Tsei. Seeing Xiaoxia injured, Cheng Yi's usually cold heart softened. However, she refused his help, brushing off her wounds as nothing. She was used to getting hurt, as she had often fought with boys when she was younger. Because of this, she assured Cheng Yi that there was no need for him to worry. At that moment, Xiaoxia's gait reminded Cheng Yi of his childhood friend, making him even more certain that she was the very girl from his photo. That evening, Cheng Yi confided in his grandfather, telling him that he had reunited with his childhood friend, but she did not seem to recognize him. His grandfather, hearing this, offered words of wisdom. People never forget the most important moments in their lives. If this girl was truly precious to Cheng Yi, then he should help her remember, for she had surely kept their memories close to her heart. The next morning, Xiaoxia was still limping from her injury. Chung-yi wanted to help but felt too embarrassed. Instead, he devised a plan to restore Xiaoxia's lost memories. Coincidentally, a student was being bullied by a group of delinquents. In response, Chung-yi confronted them, leading them into a tunnel for a fight, just like the first time he had met Xiaoxia. Standing boldly, Chung-yi challenged the bullies to wait a little longer for him. At the same time, Zhongyu was with Xinghui when he saw a photo of Chung-yi carrying Xiaoxia in his arms. The sight filled him with jealousy. Xinghui advised him to give up on Xiaoxia, saying that no matter how hard he tried, she would always see him as a brother. Back at the tunnel, Chung-yi's plan was about to unfold. As soon as Xiaoxia appeared, he ordered the bullies to attack him. Unfortunately, just as the fight began, Xiaoxia was called away by a friend, leaving Chung-yi to take the beating alone. However, he soon turned the tables and fought back. Unexpectedly, the bullies were actually associates of Zhongyu. Upon realizing what was happening, Zhongyu arrived and challenged Chung-yi to a duel. The battle for Xiaoxia's heart had become inevitable. Meanwhile, at school, Xiaoxia arrived only to be met by a battered Zhongyu. He immediately moved to help her up the stairs, but she refused, finding the gesture odd. Still consumed by jealousy, Zhongyu lashed out, exclaiming that if it were Chung-yi instead of him, Xiaoxia would not have refused to help. However, Xiaoxia ignored Zhongyu's words and walked away, leaving him behind. During class, she noticed that Chung-yi was absent. Concerned, she volunteered to deliver his homework. Upon arriving at Chung-yi's house, Xiaoxia was shocked to see his bruised face. However, Chung-yi remained silent, merely gesturing for her to come inside. His grandmother, who suffered from dementia, became anxious at the sight of a stranger. It was known that she only felt at ease when her husband was by her side. Unfortunately, Chung-yi's grandfather was away in Taiwan, purchasing medicine for her. Thinking quickly, Xiaoxia came up with a solution. She called Chung-yi's grandfather via video call. Seeing her husband's face, his grandmother finally calmed down and soon fell into a peaceful sleep. Afterward, Xiaoxia and Chung-yi spent time together bathing by Tse. Amidst their activity, Chung-yi quietly expressed his gratitude for her presence, admitting that, aside from Bai Tse, she was the only true friend he had. Hearing that, Xiaoxia felt a flutter in her heart, realizing that she held a special place in his life. Later that evening, Chung-yi's grandfather returned home. He scolded Chung-yi for bringing a girl over while he was away, but Chung-yi quickly explained that she was the very person he had mentioned before. His grandfather then asked if the girl had remembered him yet. Unfortunately, Chung-yi could only shake his head in disappointment. His grandfather then gave him other advice by asking why his grandmother, who was suffering from dementia, could still remember his grandfather's face. Before Chung-yi could answer, his grandfather smiled and said that the two of them had spent so much time together. As a result, shared moments and experiences can bring back even the most hidden memories. Taking his grandfather's words to heart, Chung-yi began spending more time with Xiaoxia. He even started bringing her lunch, his favorite sandwiches. However, since Xiaoxia disliked sandwiches, he made sure to buy her favorite drink instead, extra honey boba with additional toppings. Slowly but surely, his efforts to win her heart were finally met with warmth, and their bond deepened. They laughed together often, even creating a shared Instagram account. Chung-yi did not mind that Xiaoxia wasn't academically gifted. During lunch breaks, he patiently tutored her. However, their lesson was interrupted when Zhongyu appeared, asking Xiaoxia to come with him. It turned out that Zhongyu wanted Xiaoxia to be the host for his band's concert the next evening. The original host had canceled due to heartbreak. At first, Xiaoxia hesitated, feeling unqualified. But Zhongyu reminded her that she had once won a speech competition in elementary school. With no other choice, she accepted and even invited Chung-yi to watch the concert. The night of the concert arrived. Before heading to the event, Chung-yi stopped by a shop to buy a drink for Xiaoxia. The shopkeeper, recognizing him, mentioned that Zhongyu also frequently bought drinks there. According to the shopkeeper, Zhongyu and Xiaoxia looked like a perfect pair, inseparable and always together. Hearing those words, Chung-yi remembered his fight with Zhongyu in the tunnel. At that time, Zhongyu told him not to get too close to Xiaoxia because he was the one who knew Xiaoxia better than anyone. No matter how close they had been over these few weeks, in the end, he would be the one standing by her side. Meanwhile, Zhongyu and his band were seen making final preparations backstage. Suddenly, Xinghui asked about his relationship with Xiaoxia, where the two of them always seemed so close. Not only that, she also asked whether the two of them had a relationship more than just friends. At first, Zhongyu hesitated, before finally answering that Xiaoxia would always have a place in his heart. He had loved her for a long time. No matter who tried to take her, he would never give up easily. Unbeknownst to him, his words pierced Xinghui's heart. She had hoped that through their shared music, Zhongyu would develop feelings for her. However, hearing his unwavering devotion to Xiaoxia, she finally understood. No matter how much she tried, in the end, Zhongyu had already chosen someone else. Zhongyu's words seemed to have deeply affected Xinghui. Even after he finished playing the intro to the song, she remained frozen, unable to bring herself to strike the drums. Instead, she abruptly left, apologizing for not being able to go through with it. As a result, the audience was left in confusion, wondering what had just happened. Unexpectedly, a sweet voice suddenly filled the air. It was Xiaoxia. Seeing this, Zhongyu quickly welcomed her onto the stage to keep the performance going. The audience was stunned. Xiaoxia, known for her playful and mischievous nature, was now singing beautifully. As the performance went on, Changyi arrived, only to witness the undeniable chemistry between Xiaoxia and Zhongyu. To him, they looked perfect together. The crowd even began chanting their names, urging them to become a couple. Unbeknownst to them, their words were like daggers to Changyi's heart. Unable to bear the pain, he silently walked away, his heart aching. After the concert, Xiaoxia began to feel uneasy. Changyi had not responded to any of her messages. Sensing her worry, Zhongyu, who was once again consumed by jealousy, remarked that Changyi had always been like this, cold and indifferent to those around him. However, Xiaoxia refused to believe it. She and Changyi had grown close lately, so much so that they even shared their Instagram accounts like a couple would. The next day at school, Changyi asked Xiaoxia to speak in private. There, he firmly told her that they needed to keep their distance. He did not want to be seen as someone interfering in another man's relationship. Confused, Xiaoxia asked what he meant, but Changyi pressed on if she already had another man in her life. Why had she been getting close to him? To him, it made her seem insincere. His words left her speechless. Before she could explain, he turned and walked away, his heart filled with sorrow. Noticing that Xiaoxia had not returned to class after talking to Changyi, Zhongyu quickly went looking for her. In his rush, he even bought 2 cups of boba, her favorite drink. Shortly after, Zhongyu found her on the rooftop, lost in thought. Handing her a drink, Zhongyu spoke gently, promising that if every man in the world were to hurt her, he would be the last one standing, always there to protect and comfort her. His words made her chuckle, and she thanked him for always being by her side, no matter the situation. That day, they decided to skip class, spending time together. Zhongyu did everything he could to make her smile again. However, Xiaoxia's heart remained locked away, reserved only for Changyi. Even when she cried with Zhongyu by her side, it was still Changyi's name that she longed for the most. Until finally, Zhongyu couldn't hold back any longer. He immediately asked Xiaoxia why he wasn't the one chosen. All this time, he was always there for her and did everything, but she still chose someone he had just met. However, just as he finished speaking, Zhongyu realized that Xiaoxia had fallen asleep. He sighed and gently woke her up, telling her that her mother had been looking for her. What he didn't know was that Xiaoxia had heard everything, but she simply could not love him the way he wanted her to. The next day, Xiaoxia had no choice but to accept Changyi's cold demeanor. However, everything changed when their teacher insulted her in French. Changyi, unable to contain his anger, spoke up, declaring that a person's worth could not be measured solely by academic performance. His boldness landed him in the counseling office. Meanwhile, Zhongyu was also called in due to a past altercation with Changyi, which had been caught on CCTV. The school counselor urged Zhongyu to admit that he had been bullied by Cheng Yi, but he denied it, much to Cheng Yi's surprise. As a result, the two of them faced punishment together, bound by circumstances neither of them had expected. During their conversation, Cheng Yi asked why Zhongyu had defended him. However, Zhongyu clarified that it was not about defending anyone. He simply did not want to be seen as weak, as a victim of bullying. The fight had been a fair one, and he was unwilling to sacrifice his pride just to let Cheng Yi win. As for Xiaoxia, perhaps at this moment, Cheng Yi had won. She loved him deeply. Meanwhile, Zhongyu's relationship with Xiaoxia was nothing more than childhood friendship. Yet, despite failing time and again, he would never stop trying. And if he ever saw Xiaoxia cry again, Cheng Yi would have to answer for it. That evening, after Cheng Yi returned from taking Bai Tse to the veterinarian, Xiaoxia unexpectedly arrived with a cake. She wanted to apologize for everything that had happened and celebrate Cheng Yi's birthday together. Just as they were about to do so, heavy rain began to fall. Shortly after, the two quickly found shelter and, under the dim light, Cheng Yi made a wish. His only words were an apology for what he had said to her the other day. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, it felt as though their hearts had finally connected. Slowly, Cheng Yi leaned closer to Xiaoxia and kissed her. Unexpectedly, Bai Tse's condition took a turn for the worse, throwing Xiaoxia and Cheng Yi into a panic. They rushed to find an open veterinary clinic, but no matter how many they contacted, none were still open. Desperate, Xiaoxia called Zhongyu for help. Realizing she was in distress, Zhongyu immediately searched for a vet who was still available. He pleaded with the veterinarian to save the dog belonging to the man his beloved adored. With Zhongyu's help, they finally managed to bring Bai Tse in for treatment. Unfortunately, they were too late. Bai Tse had passed away. Cheng Yi was devastated. His lifelong companion, the one who had always been by his side, was gone forever. Xiaoxia stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him in comfort. All of this unfolded before Zhongyu, sending a clear message. No matter how hard he tried, Cheng Yi was always the one Xiaoxia chose. Back at home, Cheng Yi was taken aback by his mother's sudden arrival. Without hesitation, she told him to come with her. However, his grandfather refused, insisting that Cheng Yi was fine where he was. His grandmother's condition was worsening. She no longer even recognized her own daughter standing before her. This prompted Cheng Yi's mother to begin searching for the best nursing home available. Outraged, his grandfather protested. He had spent decades by his wife's side and had never once considered giving up on her. Their argument grew heated, filling the house with tension. Unable to bear it any longer, Cheng Yi finally spoke up. He agreed to go with his mother, but only on the condition that she did not separate his grandparents. The next day at school, Cheng Yi wrestled with the weight of his decision. Just as his love for Xiaoxia was beginning to bloom, reality had intervened. With a heavy heart, he confessed that he would be leaving for America with his mother the following week. At first, Xiaoxia thought he was joking, but the serious expression on his face told her otherwise. She was left speechless. Was their love doomed to end before it had even begun? Soon, tears welled in her eyes as she pleaded with him. No matter what happened, she wanted him to keep in touch. Not every day, just whenever he could. That alone would mean the world to her. Even after Cheng Yi left, they continued to talk, as usual. However, the time difference slowly carved a divide between their worlds. When Xiaoxia woke up, Cheng Yi was asleep. And when she slept, the birds in Cheng Yi's world were singing. Yet they kept in touch, sharing their lives across the distance. Later, when Xiaoxia started university, she introduced Cheng Yi to all her friends. He also made sure to be part of her birthday celebrations every year, even if only from afar. Bound by time and space, yet always connected in spirit. But as life became busier, their conversations grew less frequent. What was once a constant presence becoming nothing more than a fading memory. The strong bond they had shared slowly slipped away, disappearing into the past. Xiaoxia understood that while many say distance is not a barrier to love, the absence of a tangible presence can slowly wear down the soul. Eventually, it seemed that her relationship with Cheng Yi had truly come to an end. No more shared laughter, no more exchanged smiles to brighten their days. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye, and during that time, Xiaoxia had risen to become a successful CEO of a cosmetics company in China. Though she had tried to open her heart to others, no one could ever replace the love she still held for Chang'e. On the day of her best friend Jiao Ling's wedding, she gently asked how much longer she would continue to wait. All their other close friends were married, leaving Xiaoxia as the only one still alone. But Xiaoxia refused to rush. She believed that the path God had planned for her would be far more beautiful than any path she could choose for herself. Amid their conversation, Jiao Ling mentioned that she had reserved a special seat for someone important to Xiaoxia. However, Xiaoxia simply remained silent and changed the subject, suggesting they go and greet the wedding guests. As the night went on, Xiaoxia laughed and reminisced with her friends, but her gaze kept drifting toward that special, unoccupied seat. She hoped that the person Jiao Ling had hinted at would soon arrive to fill it. However, as the celebration came to an end, the seat remained empty. With a heavy heart, Xiaoxia returned home, struggling to accept that she had spent 10 years waiting for a love that had never returned. Feeling restless, she opened the Instagram account she had once shared with Chang'e. Scrolling through the photos of their high school days, she noticed something different. New posts from Chang'e, featuring recent pictures and heartfelt captions. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke the silence. Chang'e stood before her, apologizing for his late arrival. He confessed that for over a decade, he had kept his feelings for her alive, but had never found the courage to return. But in the middle of his apology, he really wanted to ask if Xiaoxia still loved him. Without hesitation, Xiaoxia softly answered, yes. And at that moment, as if time had never separated them, they kissed. The end. Moral lesson from the story: if you chase after love like a lost dog, you might end up getting hit by reality instead. And always remember, if you forget to shower, no amount of romance will cover up the smell.